Everybody, welcome back to Super Bowl 54 Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690 here in Miami, the Miami Beach Convention Center, as we roll closer to the 49ers and the Chiefs coming up on Sunday. That game, by the way, will be on Fox 30 locally in Jacksonville. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, and pleased to be joined by ESPN's Laura Rutledge.
Hi.
A little Gator blood in there, too.
I know. Listen, we got to call it out. It's good. Go Gators.
Absolutely. I was just telling Laura, I said, I remember when I not first got to town, but you were doing some Florida High School State Athletic Association state championship games on the sideline.
I was, and you know what? The funny thing about that time was we would do 4 games in a day, and it was like an entire weekend, obviously, of the state championship. And so, you know, I still do sideline for football now. It feels like such a breeze after doing those high school state championships because we would be doing football games for so long. I mean, you would end the day and be like, I don't even know what happened to me, and then we're going to turn back around and do it the next day. But so much fun, and there's always so much talent in this state, but there was so much talent during that time that now has gone on to the NFL level. It's just been fun to watch those guys grow up and their careers, you know, take off in a big way.
That was called endurance training.
Oh, it was.
In the media
It really
business.
was.
Might be different in MMA and the NFL, Austin, but that's endurance training.
Well, in that heat, it's endurance training regardless, but no matter what you're doing.
Yeah,
warm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you said follow careers, and I think a lot of people in Florida, around Florida, have followed your career because of that, because of the Gators, because of seeing you on the sidelines in those games, and, of course, big SEC country. And life is good right now, isn't it, at ESPN with your recent contributions to Get Up, and the SEC has just taken off big time in the last decade.
Yeah, I feel just really fortunate to keep having these opportunities. It's been so much fun, and, you know, doing Get Up every day has been a unique adventure because obviously a lot of my background's been in college sports, and then to sort of have this baptism by fire into pro sports has been a blast. But as somebody who's just been a sports fan for my whole life, it's been so much fun to talk to all these different guys that we have rolling through there on a daily basis about their different sports, whether it's NBA, NFL, or anything in between. And so this is actually my first Super Bowl that I've ever been to, which is really special and really neat. So I feel like every day it's kind of just being thankful for one other thing and you know, making sure that I never lose sight of that in anything.
So how does, like, you know, being here, talking to me and everything, how does that stack up to the SEC Media Day and that kind of spectacle, which it is?
Right. So this is a spectacle in its own right, for sure, and there's so many people here. There's something wilder about SEC Media Day, and I think a lot of that is because if you're there, you know, you're representing whatever it is that, you know, your audience likes. So maybe you're somebody from Mississippi and you've got like a more Ole Miss fan base. Well, you don't want to be anywhere near like the Mississippi State radio people, and God forbid they're talking in the background of your show or something. I mean, that is a very real thing at SEC Media Days that you wouldn't see necessarily at, you know, a Super Bowl Media Day or you know, Radio Row here. So it's just a wild and crazy thing, and it's funny because SEC Media Days moved to Atlanta, you know, for that brief time, and then was now back in Hoover at the Galleria, and the same place that it's always been, and it just felt right to be back there because there's something about that place that you can't walk into without thinking about Media Days.
That's something about that place when it comes to SEC,
Right.
no doubt about it. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane with Laura Rutledge from ESPN by way of Florida Gator, and does so much now for Get Up, a contributor on that show, which has really done well, and of course with all of the things covered on the SEC, and very much so football, which means working with Tim Tebow and Marcus Spears and the others. I bet that's a little fun. You talk about characters from Greedy to Tebow to Spears. I mean, that's some characters now.
Those guys are so crazy, and it's so much fun, and it's just like, it's one of these things when I think, you know, just as a human being, I love people, and I love talking to people and finding things out about them, and we have such a wide variety of personalities that we, you know, get to talk to. So, you know, Marcus, obviously, I've known for so many years doing the SEC stuff, and now he's on Get Up, and so I get to see him more regularly, and he'll have these moments where everyone's like, oh, the big swagoo, did you see that? I'm like, I've been seeing that. Like, he's been doing this crazy stuff for so long. Him and Tim, and they're just fun rivalry together, but also, you know, watching LSU this year win the championship, and even Tim having a moment where he was getting a little emotional toward the end of the whole thing because he just roots for the SEC, and he even said he's explaining to his new wife now, but he was explaining to her because she's from South Africa. She was like, why are you rooting so hard for LSU? You're a Florida Gator. And he's like, because I want the SEC to win. And then just seeing that pride and kind of what he's all about.
You know how I feel about that.
By the way, Tim's wife is right on the money. So I'm from Rhode Island, okay? college football, they like Notre Dame. They're
it's
Catholics.
not that big of it, right?
He's from Wisconsin. Big Ten, but it's not the SEC.
It's not.
We can't grasp. Over the years, I've been a dozen years now in the Southeast, and I just still can't grasp that people root for the SEC the way they root for it. I understand maybe
it's wild.
I hope the conference does, but I'm a Red Sox guy.
Yeah.
I'm not rooting for the Yankees.
Yeah.
No,
ever.
you're not like I'm going to root for the AL East. No,
It's such a strange thing.
It is strange, and I think it really is what makes the SEC special. And look, I love all of college football. I love the Big Ten. I thought the Big Ten was going to be better this year than they ended up being. And in fact, I thought
join the club.
I actually picked your team to be kind of this sleeper team in college football, and they kind of let me down. But anyway, there's always next year. I blame you. No, I'm kidding. But no, you're right. Like, there is something about that passion in the Southeastern Conference that just kind of transcends all schools, and it's the reality. There were so many Alabama fans too that were like randomly rooting for LSU just because LSU had beat them, and so then they thought, well, if you're going to beat us, then you better just go on and win the national championship.
Makes you feel better.
And this is where I come in. Like, if the team beats me, so say like I'm Florida or say I'm Alabama, and LSU beats me, and they beat me, fair and square, I'm upset.
You're like, I don't
want
them to
see
win.
you succeed.
Yeah.
I want to see you do miserable because it makes me feel better as a person and as a team.
You're just a bad guy, though.
Well, maybe I'm a bad guy,
Yeah,
but I will say this, though, about the SEC. And let's be honest, like, I'm not going to call it a gang. Maybe like a clique or something like that on social media, SEC. But if you're from Vanderbilt, if you're from Kentucky, even Tennessee right now, I don't want to see let's go SEC, right? Because you can't claim it. You don't want anything in forever.
People are claiming off of the past. And look, Tennessee had a major turnaround with their season this year. It was looking real bad there early on for Jeremy Pruitt. Exactly. They're a team that I think they would root for the SEC, their fan base, because they say, we've won national championships in the past, and there's still that pride there no matter what. But I see your point, and I don't mean to, pile on Vanderbilt, but I see what you mean. They can say that. They can say that about baseball.
They sure can.
College baseball would be
Baseball,
where they could step up in
and
that
their
category.
SAT scores.
Exactly. Good point.
Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Laura Rutledge here at Super Bowl 54, hanging out with Laura, who does so much for ESPN now and has been elevated, and her celebrity really has risen. I know you won't want me to say that, but it has, and there's a reality to that. And I really want to ask you about it because, over the last 15 years or so, we've seen another Gator, Aaron Andrews, become such a big celebrity in this profession and for the female side, right? Do you think you are in that kind of category now where young girls, women in school at various colleges across the country are looking up to Laura Rutledge? Do you own that a little bit? Because whether you want to admit it or not, it's probably reality.
Yeah, thank you, first of all. And I really can't comprehend any of that myself. I feel like, for me, I can't even believe that any of this has happened. In all honesty, at Florida, I worked on the radio station, WRUF. My ultimate goal was to be the radio sideline reporter for Florida football games and Florida basketball. And I thought, this is great. That's what I want to do. And so anything beyond that has been such an incredible surprise, and I've just been so thankful for it. And I will say, I do hear from a lot of young people, men and women, and them contacting me for advice about anything like that. To me is the most important part of my job. And I'm not saying that because it sounds good. I really believe, I cannot wait to see who's the next person that takes my job and takes all these other people's jobs. And I think that's really special. And I'm sure you guys have that too, where people will be asking you, how do I get into this business, or how can I do this? And the responsibility that we have to cultivate that talent, to encourage it, to work with people and young people and kind of bring them up along with us. I think that's very important. And it's something that I will never, I'll never take for granted that they want to ask me that, that they want me to give them advice. I just think that's amazing. So I love that. I'm sitting there all day long on my Instagram DMs, okay, let me send her here. In fact, there was a young lady who works for the Panthers who I've known for a few years, and she was just telling me some great news about a job she's now in the mix for. And so just those relationships are the most important thing to me.
And Stuart Weber's a Gator over here, and he mentions Christina Pink from Fox as well, another Gator. So obviously,
she's awesome.
Pretty good program. If we're Stuart Weber, But it
listen,
also produced
he's
Laura
the
Rutledge
headliner.
and Christina Pink.
Stuart's the headliner, but the rest of us are just trying to keep up with him. Christina's great, though.
How
really great.
we'll let you go here in a minute, but how is mom life?
Oh my goodness, it is such an adventure, and it's the best way I can describe it is there's never been anything that's been equal parts rewarding and challenging like being a parent is, but it's also the best title that you could ever have, in anything. And I was this person that was thinking, well, okay, I need to figure out how quickly can I get back to work? How can I make all this work? And it's just amazing. Like the second that you meet your child and you realize what life's all about, all of a sudden you're like, who cares about work? I mean, I'm thankful for it. I love doing my job. I love being part of it. But the most important thing is being a mom and, just going on an adventure. I feel like daily with our little girl Reese, I'm like, I am so sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I just put your diaper on wrong and there's mess everywhere. What am I? Like, it's just a constant me apologizing, being like, I'm a disaster. And her kind of looking at me like, yeah, you're a total weirdo. But whatever, we're stuck with each other. So here we are.
That's pretty cool. Do you think it will be a challenge? And are there any concerns that you've built this career now and now it might stop that climb, if any? It doesn't look like it is.
Well, no, it's a great question. And I do have concerns of that in certain ways because I already feel like, am I being present enough with her? And I think that's a challenge that all working parents and really parents in general, whether you're working or not, there's so many distractions and so many things that seem like they're important. And I'll just say, with this tragedy that happened with Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna and the other families on that helicopter, I think so many of us over these past few days have just kind of reassessed and stepped back and said, are we doing enough to be present with our families and all of that? So it's a constant challenge that I'm trying to kind of weave my way through and, also keep perspective that the most important thing is my time with her that I can never get back.
Yeah, and I think you're right on the money, though. You can't get that back, but everybody is appreciating things a little bit more the last 72 hours. Hashtag Girl Dad has become quite a thing on social media.
Shout out to Elle Duncan for that.
Absolutely. That was well done.
One more quick question. We'll let you go here, Laura. So you've been on a lot of SEC campuses. You've taken part of a bunch of game days. In your opinion, and I know you're Florida partial, so take Florida out of it.
Take them out.
The way I'm dressed right now, okay? Because I'm not rocking boat shoes. I'm not rocking a polo shirt, okay?
No, you look cool.
Thank you. Where would I have the most fun tailgating?
Okay, I'm going to throw one at you that you're not going to expect.
Okay.
Texas A&M.
Oh,
A&M.
I thought you were going to say the Grove. But
No, the Grove is really cool, and it has its own, but they're just not winning that much.
Yeah.
There's more of an excitement around A&M. Now, listen, with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, it's going to be different, but they need a little bit of time. Either way, A&M is such a cool tailgating experience, especially for like a mid-afternoon game, like maybe a 2:30 local.
Okay.
They do all these like breakfast taco tailgating situations with like actual flat tops with eggs and all kinds of, and it's a real Tex-Mex, like great feel to everything Southwestern food. So I would try out College Station. College Station and like the 12th man and Kyle Field is an experience that I think anybody, and look, you're Wisconsin ties, know what a great game day environment is, and being in a stadium that has great tradition. A&M has really great tradition, and it's a sneaky good spot.
We're on the road.
Do it.
Yeah,
Let me know when you do it, because it's
do
going to be so much fun.
Awesome.
ESPN 690 is going to hit the road in the fall.
I like
Texas
it.
A&M. I like it. Laura Rutledge, continued success, and
Thank you.
have fun being a mom, too.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be back on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690 from Super Bowl